Welcome to Community Conversations with State Attorney Bain, your talk show for insights on the criminal justice system, community issues, and public safety in Orange and Osceola counties. Join State Attorney Andrew Bain as he dives into the issues that matter most to you, keeping it real every step of the way.
Good afternoon, everyone. And listen, I don't want anyone to be alarmed, but I am Attorney Greg Jackson. It is my honor and my privilege to be sitting here this afternoon with State Attorney Bain and his lovely wife, Ms. Bain. And I am going to be conducting what some would call an interview, but what I want to say that this is more so of a conversation, a chance to get to know Mr. and Mrs. Bain. So without any further ado, let's just get into it and let's just have a great conversation with State Attorney Bain and his wife. So let's just get it started this way. How did y'all meet? How did this union come to be?
So I guess the best way to describe it, we have a mutual friend that I went to undergrad with, and she was like, "I'm going out with my friend, and we're going to go out to this party." And I'm like, "You want to go out?" And I was like, "Well, I'm heading to a reggae party down in Miami, on the river." And so she brought her friend, and
that was me.
Yeah, they brought her friend, and then we kind of kicked it off from there.
Yeah. So I was in med school and I was studying for my boards. And so I needed a break. So I called my friend up and she said, "Hey, I'm going to go out. I'm meeting one of my friends." I said, "Okay, great." And then we met, and then that was kind of it. Yeah. My externship was like maybe 2 minutes from where Andrew lived at the time.
Oh, wow.
So it was very convenient. And kind of moved in, never left, and got married 11 months later.
And how long has that been now?
17 years now.
17 years.
Yeah, 17 years of marriage. Yeah.
So you all could have pretty much gone anywhere where you wanted to go. Why Central Florida? Why is Central Florida home for you all?
Well, for me, my parents, they lived here. I went to school at UCF. I was raised in Minnesota, and when it was time to go to school, I moved down here. I kind of convinced my mom that it was a good idea because grandma lived in Kissimmee at the time, and I found out about UCF. I ended up moving down, and about 3 years later they moved down to Orlando while I went to med school in Miami. And then when it was time to kind of set up life, I was telling Andrew, we didn't have kids at the time, but I said, okay, I think we need to live by someone's family. We need help. So we kind of set up shop here. My parents are here, and just so happened that Andrew's parents are also here. They moved up from South Florida about 3 years ago, and so we have both sets of grandparents here to help us with the kids.
Outstanding. So when we talk about the family unit, it sounds as if you all have a great deal of support with the parents and everyone being here. In terms of your kids, how are they adjusting to being Central Floridians and being here in this community?
That's all they know, I guess. They so they love being with their grandparents, and I spend a lot of time making sure cultivating that relationship with the grandparents, because I think it's very important for them to have that history. So there's only so much, parents can teach them. So they need to learn some of that information, that knowledge from their grandparents. So they thrive off of spending time with their grandparents, and they really still enjoy it. So it's part of what we kind of wanted to accomplish as parents.
Gotcha. So I know that folks have heard a lot about what you do, State Attorney Bain, and the work that you're doing in the community and things of that nature. But let's have a little bit more of a conversation about how that deals or how that works into the family. And I want to talk to Dr. Bain a little bit. I'm just going to turn this way a little bit. And I want to talk to Dr. Bain a little bit. How is it that you all have adjusted life to having State Attorney Bain in the home? How have things changed, if at all, for you all?
It's a lot. It's a lot of work and support. It takes preparation. I know in the day, just because the week gets very hectic, so we try to kind of pre-plan what we have going on. There's a lot of moving parts, so being very flexible is like a huge factor for this. The kids are very supportive as well, so they know that like we have to be out in the public a lot, so they understand, Daddy has to do his job and mommy's there as well to support. I think a lot of it just has to do with just planning and prepping for maybe what's to come, but it can change, and being fluid with that. And I try to do as much as I can for Andrew. Just when he comes home, that it's just kind of easy, simple. Try to do as much as I can before he gets there so he can just spend time with the kids, have some fun. We can have fun as well and kind of reset for the next day.
So this is a question that folks have kind of asked me to ask you, State Attorney Bain.
Yes.
You go from Attorney Bain to Judge Bain to now State Attorney Bain. Through those various iterations of who you have been, how has life changed for you, if at all?
I think for me, it's been just a full blown showing of what God's been doing my whole life. And so a lot of the things that I do right now are things I have been doing, like even since high school. So it's not like something new that I'm creating or trying to figure out. Like I've been working in these communities, working in these types of neighborhoods for my whole life. Mm-hmm. So I had a peer tutoring program when I was in high school for kids that I went to school with. And so those same kids that I went to school with are the same kids that I deal with now in our juvenile justice system and in our communities, and the same adults that I grew up in those neighborhoods, the same adults that I kind of deal with now. Yeah. And so it's a familiarity of what I've been doing, and this just been kind of the next step in the iteration of that development. And so being able to affect the changes that we want to see in our community.
Now, Dr. Bain, you mentioned something, and I want to kind of circle back on that because I hear State Attorney Bain talking about the things that he's been doing and what he's been preparing for. But how has it changed in terms of going to the grocery store now? Is life the same when he was Attorney Bain? And when he was it the same walking into a grocery store with this guy?
Well, now they recognize him without a bow tie, so that gets interesting. Andrew's been the same Andrew that he's been since day one. So people knowing who he is was something that was going on even when we were in Miami when he played football. So it's not anything new. I think it's great that when you live in the community that people like know who you are. And even for myself, like with my patients, it's like when you run into people and they can express themselves like in a more natural setting, I think it's great that they feel open enough to do that. And I enjoy it. And I think the kids like it too, just because it's a new face, someone new, they're sharing a story, and sometimes it can be something very personal. And there's just a wide range of stories that are being told, and just to put a face and an actual human and a person to that, it's not just a story. So that's been great to just interact with the community in that sense.
When you talk about family, I hear a lot about the support of the family. The family's here now. Your parents are here. State Attorney Bain's family is here. How has the family come around and supported the changes that have been taking place? And these changes have been happening fairly rapidly. So how has the family come around and embrace and help to support all of the changes that's taking place right now?
Yeah, I think it's been going well. I think that we had a run back in 2020 when I was running for judge at the time. And so my parents and my in-laws, they kind of, 2022, I was running to be a judge again, or keep my seat as a judge, that they kind of came around us as a family, came around the kids. And so people don't really understand, because even with all the work that goes into doing this job, there's still this huge amount of time that's taken away from that we normally spend time with my kids or spend time with my wife. And so having that support surround us has been great. And we've kind of had the practice of doing it. And so now it's not such a scary thought anymore.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Bain, you mentioned something that, now when State Attorney Bain comes home, when Andrew comes home, let's talk familiar for a moment. When Andrew comes home, you try to make sure that things are, okay, things are kind of leveled out and ready for him. In terms of things that we don't see about State Attorney Bain, all right, when he gets home, Is he the type of guy that's sitting in front of the TV playing video games?
Absolutely.
Is he but what is State Attorney Bain doing at home?
Absolutely not. I don't really even see you sitting down much, like at all, really, because I'm like, I'm hungry. Can you cook something? Because he's the better chef than myself.
Oh, now you know.
Yes.
Now you know. We got to talk. Keep going, but we got to talk about that.
So
in a second.
Andrew does all the savory cooking. I can bake. I can do sweets and stuff like that. But Andrew, on a regular day, he would be the one cooking. So when all this kind of happened, the kids were like, well, Mommy, what are we going to eat? I said, what do you mean? I said, because you know you can't cook. And so, again, it's if he's better at it, I'm going to let him do it. So I try to do what I can. But no, Andrew cooks. He helps with, like, pretty much everything. So it's a great balance that we have where it just works out really well because we're both very busy. But if we can kind of pick up the slack for each other, we try to when we can. If he can grab something on the way home, he'll do it, or just, hey, can I pick something up to eat? Like, what do you want? So it's like, again, it's like a team. It's very much a team. And even the kids too, they're like, what can we do to, we got to get ready before Daddy gets home so we can, like, play a little bit and stuff like that. Because we're very strict when it comes to bedtime and stuff like that. Because once we have a routine with them, well, then we can kind of spend some time as well. Yeah.
So I told you I was going to circle back to this cooking, all right? And I got to do it. I'm sorry, because if y'all can't tell, I like to eat myself. Yeah. And this is more so also a building exercise for the state attorney's office, all right? Yeah. Let's say State Attorney Bain decides that he's going to have a cook-off in the office just to build morale for the team. Yeah. What is State Attorney Bain's dish that he's bringing to whip everybody that brings the dish at this cook-off?
So I think, last time I did that, because that actually happened, I did a barbecue for my office when I was a prosecutor the first time. Oh. So I spent 7 years as a prosecutor with the office. And so when I won, I think one summer, we were like, well, we should have a barbecue. And then, so I woke up, my wife set off the fire alarm in the house, outside smoking ribs and chicken and stuff like that. So, but it turned out to be a great deal, mac and cheese, and I think I made some beans, and we tore it down in Osceola at the state attorney's office.
Listen, that's all right. Now my good friend at Let Salt Nation, brother Rod Love, he would be really upset if I did not ask State Attorney Bain to prove his skills on the grill. And I'm just going to do that in public. I want the 16 million people that's watching right now to understand. I've just asked State Attorney Bain to provide for myself and brother Love. But no, all jokes aside, in terms of how life has evolved and changed, how have things changed, and what has been the most challenging aspect of you all as a family dealing with State Attorney Bain's new position? I understand because you have a busy practice, you have kids, and you talked a little bit about making sure that you have time to do things. But what is the most challenging things about or to the family of what's been taking place here shortly?
The most challenging.
The unexpected.
That's,
So
it's expected at this point.
Yeah.
The unexpected is expected.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for us, and I have Andrew constantly, it's probably a daily reminder, is look, certain things are just out of your control. Give it up to God, let God handle it. And I think that's something that came along the way where you just accept that, do your mission, do the best you can, and you let some things just go and just let it happen the way that it should. So that's something that I had to learn really through our marriage. That's something that Andrew has always kind of told me, look, there's only certain things that you're going to be able to control. Just understand that, let it go. It'll all work out and fall into place the way that it should.
Absolutely. Those are great words to live by. Expect the unexpected. I think that is something that a lot of folks can take from this conversation as well. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about programs and different things that's taking place and how those things are supported by family. What are some of the things that you as State Attorney Bain are putting in place for the community?
So actually next week's show, we're going to talk about adverse and positive childhood experiences. We're going to talk about trauma and talk about the different types of trauma that come in, whether it's generational, environmental, whether it's family oriented. And so it's part of a series that we're going to be doing called Thriving Family Series. And so that's something that we're going to do actually next Saturday at New Covenant. We're trying to get about 100 families together and then have a back to school event afterwards and try to figure out, get to working on things that build healthier families. Because statistics just show you that a lot, single parent households, their likelihood of the person being involved, the kid being involved in crime, family households with trauma and violence, perpetuate that cycle, all those different things that kind of happen in our community, domestic violence in the household, how that affects the next generation of children. And so we're going to try to take a dive at helping the parents. And it kind of came out of an experiment I was trying to do this summer.
Right.
We had a juvenile career exploration program. And the conversations we were having with the parents and their responses to that program were very interesting, because it wasn't necessarily the kid, it was trying to deal with the parents and getting them to understand this is a beneficial thing for your child.
Right.
So instead of your child being arrested for doing something they got nothing to do this summer, we have a program for them. So and send them. And the response like, well, he doesn't want to go or she doesn't want to go. And I'm like,
doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that kind of concept as a child growing up. My dad, it was a choice about where you are you going or you're not going. Like, you get on the bus, we're going.
Right.
So to understand and get that build up and try to help our community in that respect has been well worth it. And so we're also trying to actually deal with underlying root causes of crime. And that's really one of my biggest things is why work in the criminal justice system that's not going to deal with the underlying things that are going on. So that's why you see the literacy programs, like the one called Turning Pages I have with juveniles, trying to get our literacy rates up, because that's a leading cause in increasing people in the criminal justice system. And then you also have poverty, which is also another big driver of the reason why people end up in the criminal justice system. And so how do we get us back to work in those communities and in that population, and not just working, like getting careers, getting skills that you can grow your career. And in the last development of that is trying to really drive entrepreneurship in our communities, and especially in those underserved communities, because if you just look at the statistics, we're being outpaced at an alarming rate. And so that also then puts us back into poverty, puts us back into those generational traps. And so we need to be working our way out of that process so we can build those healthier communities and our safer communities and ones that are more prosperous. And that's really been the goal of what we've been trying to do in all the different types of programs that we've been putting in place.
Outstanding. Dr. Bain, if there was one thing that you could change about or enhance about State Attorney Bain's role, what would that
be? At home to cook, because I'm hungry. And the kids are hungry, we're hungry, and our friends are hungry, and it's time, because there's so much that goes on with this position, where it is 24/7. You are on, so the phone's ringing, people have questions, and it's a nonstop position and job, and it's something that's very important. I didn't even realize how important this position is for a community, but I'm here to support it. I watched it as Andrew was an assistant state attorney, and with those lens, it was a little bit different, because you're the one on the line, you're going to trials, you're doing that, and now in this part, it's your name's on the door. Just like when my name is on the door, you are responsible for everything that happens in that office, just the same as mine. So that weight of knowing that you can't miss anything, because when you miss something, that could mean a life.
Yeah.
So that part it weighs. And at times, like, I mean, our quietest time during the day is 4 a.m. And Andrew will tell you, like, I get up and I'm like, I'm on. So, like, that's my time to talk. And he's like, Andrew, we got to wake up at 5:30. Like, can you go back to bed? But that's my time where I can, like, hey, this is, going on. This is what I'm thinking. And we get to talk during that time because the kids aren't up,
Right.
phone's not ringing, no texts, things like that. So that's kind of our time that we get to kind of talk a little bit. But again, it's the time factor. There's just not enough hours in the day, and there's a lot that goes into this that we, take very seriously.
Now, I'm gonna tell you, about a month ago, I put out on social media my average amount of sleep per night, and I don't know if y'all saw it. And it's real.
Yeah.
If based on what you're saying, I got to hear this. If I was to see a social media post from the Bains, the average amount of sleep that y'all get a night, what is that number?
I would say 5.
6 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We're lucky. I don't even know the last time I got an 8-hour night.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, let me suggest this.
It's a lot of people.
Let me suggest this. We're close to somewhere that's called the happiest place on earth. And so as I delve into that just a little bit, what would a vacation for the Bains look like? Wait, Could you pause for a second. So let me ask you this way. If the responsibilities are set aside for a week, all right, somebody's in the office, they're taking care of everything. What does a vacation for the Bains look like?
It still looks like, I make sure that, it's really the problem is this. Like, I think people don't understand how large our office is. So next week, I'm going to hire one of our largest classes of new attorneys and a couple few experienced attorneys next week, and we'll actually be fully staffed. So I have 180. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now. Sorry, I have 180 attorneys that work for me at that point,
Wow.
And then another almost 200 to 300 staff that just works in the office in two counties. So that's Orange and Osceola County, and so just managing that big umbrella of people is a lot going on. And so then it's also the external factors of it. It's dealing with law enforcement. It's dealing with, the commissioners and mayors and representatives and senators and all the different people on the outside, plus the media. And so it's a lot. It's both managing, making sure everything's going on good here, making sure that the people in the public understand that we're a trusted agent, that we're here to help and we're here to keep people safe. It's been the goal. And so in trying to keep all that in one whole is where, it's all where all the work comes in and trying to things like that. So it would be a vacation where, like, everybody put their guns down everywhere. Nobody does anything violent for a couple of days. Just give me a couple of days, to hold off on committing violent acts. And, as I go somewhere where I don't have cell service, so the phones don't ring. So
what you're describing is a movie called The Day the Earth Stood Still. That's what you're basically explaining to me right now.
Everybody put their guns away. Make it happen.
So I'm hearing, State Attorney Bain is on, ready to do the work, 24 hours a day, has a loving, supporting wife and family that's there to support what you're doing, and that is outstanding and fantastic. How does that make you feel? To know that you have this support system, because a lot of folks don't have that.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel to have that support system in place?
Well, it's been that way since the beginning. I mean, so we kind of skated over like how we met, kind of thing. But there were immediately ups and downs. Like so, as soon as we got married, so my wife she had just graduated medical school at Barry. And then she was supposed to start a residency program in Miami. So we had no real plans of leaving Miami at that time.
Right.
And her residency program closed.
Yeah, in June. So it's supposed to start July 1st.
Right.
So I had everything planned out, mapped out. We're staying in Miami. I have my program ready to go. We're set. I already know what I'm going to do for the next 10 years. And then I get a phone call 2 weeks before the program is supposed to start saying that they're closed. We're ending the program. Said, okay. I look at Andrew and I'm like, what? Like, we literally just got married. Like, okay. And the way how we got married, so we did it really nice. I said, Andrew, let's go to the courthouse. Let's get that paper. Let's sign right here at this table.
Get it done.
Yeah, that we still have.
Mm.
And yeah, so it was very simple and easy. I mean, we were college students. We didn't have much, but it worked out great. So when the program closed, Andrew said, okay, look, and this is where my lesson of you don't control everything.
Mm.
You know, you're going to have to let the Lord just handle this.
Right.
So he said, call one of your friends and see if they know of any program that's open. And so I just called one of my friends. She goes, you know what? There was someone that was supposed to graduate and didn't. And there's a place open in Jacksonville. I don't know which program. And so I called both of them, and I ended up starting July 1st in Jacksonville at St. Vincent's Medical Center.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out. So Andrew was, you know, helping me during that time. And then it's been kind of flip-flopping, I guess, between, I mean, when I was starting my practice, you were in law school. And, you know, we just kind of, it's been kind of a back and forth. One may support more at that time, but then it just keeps on, you know, we help each other, really.
Yeah, no, that's outstanding.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I tell everybody, like we spent the majority of, so we've been married. So we've been married for 17 years, but we spent about 5 or so of those years separated.
Oh yes,
yeah, living in different cities. So so when she moved to Jacksonville, I was still playing ball in Miami.
Yes.
Right.
So I didn't leave. I didn't like, you know, so I had to finish my time there, and then we had a short little time together before I started really training hard. I moved back to Miami. Then I was in New York, New Jersey, with the Giants.
Right.
And so then I was there doing that, and then, you know, we got back together for like a few little bits. And I started working at Merrill Lynch, doing some financial compliance work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like a few months we lived together.
And then you went to law school.
No, I mean, the residency program ended, remember? And you went to Orlando,
That's
and
right.
then I moved back to
Yeah.
Miami so I could start. I took a job in Miami to start working.
So she was in Orlando, you're down in Miami.
Yeah.
And then we switched again because when you started law school, I was in Tampa practicing. Like, it was just crazy, but we always made it work, and it was fun. It was you don't have time to argue. So it's like it's always great. And then when we did get a chance to finally move in with each other, we lived with my parents. Remember?
Yeah, because she's like, oh, I'm in law school, and like I was in law school, and she's like, oh yeah, I want to start my own practice.
Oh,
yes.
So,
and Andrew was totally instrumental in that, not only being supportive, but helping me in the legal part of it, where it's just starting it up in LLC, you know, just kind of the business aspect of it, you know, just the practice itself, because at the end, yes, we all we can have a degree, but they don't teach you how to be a business person.
Right.
So that part of it was a learning curve, and to have Andrew there help me with my counsel in bed, that's great. So that saved some cash flow. But it was definitely challenging at first. And again, I go back to this because Andrew said, look, you just have to believe in yourself and believe in a higher being, then you can get this done. And
outstanding.
that's, and then we're here. It's 13 years later. This week is my 13th year that I've had my practice. I've been solo practice, and it's been great. It's wonderful.
So. That is outstanding. That is outstanding. So as I look at the clock, it looks as if time is flying, but we're still having fun.
Yeah, we're still having fun.
We're still having fun, you know.
It's great time. It's time. Great, Jackson.
So now, you know, if I may, when I look at the Bains, one of the things that comes to mind is the reverse of the Huxtables. I'm just going to say it. When I look at this, it's the reverse of the Huxtables, right? Remember, the Huxtables, the wife was a lawyer, the husband was a doctor. In this case, we have the husband is a judge, attorney. The wife is a doctor in this particular case. My question is this: where are the kids going? Where are they going? Med school? Are they going to law school? Are they going to walk that line in the middle here?
It depends on the day, because one could be a Instagrammer.
Somebody was right?
And then it goes to, I want to be a judge too. It just changes.
Well, listen, you can be an influencer judge.
Yeah. I mean, they can start their own TV show. You know what I mean? Let's go for it. You know, there's the whole social media show. about them being a judge. That
Yeah,
sounds fun. I would tune in. It's just my youngest daughter. She's very entertaining.
She is.
She's very entertaining, like full of life. I call her the improv master, especially when she was little. Like she can take like anything, and it's like a toy. It's like give me a string. Like,
Yes,
look at this.
yes.
Daddy is this.
Yeah.
Daddy, look, is this. And so it's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun watching them grow. And so, yeah, I guess we call this a mix between like the Fresh Prince and the Huxtables, so the Banks and the Huxtables. So I don't know, man. They have so many opportunities at their disposal at we didn't have growing up. So there are that first generation that's gonna have some generational wealth that when they start becoming adults and working, like they're not gonna have to start from scratch.
Mm.
And so that's gonna be interesting to watch what they decide to do with that opportunity. And that's all. As parents, we're just trying to steward them.
Yeah.
Our job is to guide them and push them into the right directions. But ultimately, they're going to decide what type of life they want to live.
Right.
And so I'm excited. To see my oldest daughter. I think she's going to be, some type of super engineer or something.
Nice.
Like something
She can build.
she can build. Like she can design. Whether it's architecture or like actual engineering, like she she's creative, and she also likes to build, construct things and stuff like that. So it's there's a lot of different ways they can go. And I'm there to show them all the different paths, because I didn't have that when I grew up.
Right.
So there were no lawyers,
Right.
Coming to dinner and on Sunday dinner with my parents or something. So that I didn't learn anything about that until I got to the University of Miami. So I was actually speaking this morning at there's a probation conference like for all the probation officers here local in Kissimmee, and I was doing a presentation on probation law. And I just told them, I was like, look, there was none of that, and I didn't know that a lot of things that we were experiencing and what we saw at a young age was something that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize like that's not a normal thing. So. Like when I went to school in Pompano, like this on the other side of the fence was like this apartment complex. They used to like sell drugs and all kind of stuff like that. Like it's like right there in front of you.
Right.
Like people, there are shootings, there are different things that are going on. And so, to me, that was just it's cool.
Right.
I was growing up. Like it's this neighborhood. But then when I got to the University of Miami, I'm like, this is people live differently.
Right.
There's something else going on in the world. And so how can I prepare myself and prepare my kids for that kind of life? And so that's really about what we do. Just building those opportunities for them.
When you all talk about your kids, I just kind of see the brightness in the eyes and different things like that. Let me ask this question. When you think about your kids, when you think about your children, does that have any effect or any role in how you approach your position as state attorney?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's very similar. I try to. I don't want to say like I protect like the kind of community like they're my children. But that's not really. It's more. I think you can phrase. I protect them like more like I protect my quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still my job inside my ministry as state attorney to do that for my attorneys, to try to shepherd them, try to provide them with all the tools that I can to help them be successful. And so that's really the real job of a real leader is, I'm there to aid you in accomplishing the goals of the office.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that providing different, like more training? Is that providing better technology? Is that bringing in outside resource from our community so that, they can help us do our job more efficiently and better? Then that's what we want to do. So it's the same thing I want to do for my kids every day. So it's, I want to expose you to, my daughter is playing piano now, so we want to expose you to the piano and the arts, and I want to expose you to, to all these other different industries and different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've got to do a bunch of things that a lot of kids never going to get a chance to do. They got to meet. We didn't get a chance to do that. They get to meet people, and especially when I was a judge, so they got to sit there and play with like 4 Supreme Court justices
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
all kinds of different things. And like, so like, who would do that? What would that happen?
That's right.
In a regular situation. So it's been interesting to kind of see what their normal is.
Right. Compared
Versus,
to what your normal
versus what our normal was.
Growing up.
Now, you all, and especially you, Dr. Bain, you mentioned a couple of times about faith and how important faith is, to you and your family. How has faith driven you all thus far?
Instrumental to everything. I mean, even just from the minute you wake up in the morning to when you're able to like go to bed, it's just that, and especially for me, where I can see someone, I may see them a couple times and then I don't see them for years after. And then there's some patients that I see every 3 months, and it can be just in an instant where something happens, a stroke, a heart attack, or just an accident, and your life is completely changed. And that is, I think we take it for granted that things like that until it happens. But you do have to put things into perspective. So when I'm, we have these 2 little people, our daughters, that are watching what we're doing, I really try to keep in mind, okay, they are literally watching and hearing everything that is being said and done. So it's very important that we carry ourselves, as we would. I'm telling you to do something. Well, I have to follow that as well. So it's, that's the faith part of it has been, and I think as I get older as well, it makes so much more sense. And then right now, it's been wonderful that we've been invited to so many different churches and things like that, where they will open the doors and welcome us. And that has been really awesome during this time, where you can hear a word from a different person, but you still get the message and you can get across to that person. And I think that if you're able to do that, you did the job. So, and it's refreshing. I think that's been probably the best thing that I've had out of Andrew's experience with what he's doing right now. Taking that away that's been awesome.
Now, when we talk about, opening arms, and we talk about it from a faith perspective in this regard, but let's talk a little bit about, some of the more difficult aspects of being state attorney. Everyone is not going to like what you do. And it's probably going to be 50% that do, 50% that don't, or maybe 70% that don't, and 30% that do. How in that type of scenario, and knowing that you're going to have detractors and different things like that, how do you all deal with that as a family? How do you pat them on the back and say, hey, listen, you're doing the right thing, or maybe I'm giving you the answer that I don't want to give. How do you deal with that?
I think for me, and I feel like at this point, you're put in situations to practice these things before you're like fully in it. So with my practice, the internet's out there.
Right.
So anyone can say whatever they want. And I think growing pains as any business where people have, they can say whatever they want. And that's one of the things where I would take it so personal and, because I would just want to make sure everyone is, happy and they have a good experience and things like that. And it's Andrew that would be like, hey, look, you've done the best you could, and you've done all of that, but you're not going to please everybody. You do the best you can. You know what you need to do, ethically, morally, and you have the knowledge to practice medicine. So just do the best you can, because you're not going to be able to please everybody.
Right.
So your skin gets a little bit thicker as time goes on, and that has been helpful in this situation. But Andrew's case is a little bit different.
I think for me, it's always, first, did I do what I said I was going to do? And so, one of the things that, 10 Commandment kind of things, thou shalt not, basically, that's my whole false witness. So when I, swear that I want to do something, like, when you become an attorney or you become a state attorney, you always swear to uphold, the law and the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the Florida Constitution. You swear to do that.
Right.
So am I doing what I said I was going to do? am I bearing, or am I bearing false witness? Am I not doing the thing that I said I was going to do? And then obviously I wanted to apply my world, my faith to the situation. So then I wanted to make sure that I'm aligned with the biblical teaching that goes along with what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I think there's for me a theology that's been produced that's not necessarily in line with that a lot sometimes. That somehow, you have to accept evil. And in any of its forms.
Yeah.
Whether it's major evil or what we call major evil, like somebody dying,
Right.
to minor evils, that we should be accepting of that situation. And I'm like, well, no, I don't think that God is that type of God. That would make him unjust if that was the case. So we have to make sure that that's what we're doing.
Right.
That we're doing what we said we're going to do. And when we are looking at dealing with, are we combating the types of evils in this world? And so that's part of my job. So my job is to be the shepherd. To protect the people. Fight off the wolves. Not invite them to dinner. And we have to make sure that we're doing that on a daily basis. And so we're going to continue to do that work, and that's where I find the most fulfillment in what I try to do. Now there's some. It's definitely a lot harder sometimes to deal with the evil people in the world.
Right.
There's some things and some people that don't make the news that we have to talk about and see and deal with. And so trying to address those things in a way that's supposed to be an appropriate way is always what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a fair and a balanced approach to what we're doing and make sure that we're accomplishing the goals of upholding the law and combating the evils in this world.
When I hear you talk, State Attorney Bain, and I've heard you say it sometimes, and I hear it, and I also feel this way. I hear a leader. I hear protector. I hear the adjectives of an individual that is a stalwart in our community. But it takes me to what the great philosopher Sir Charles Barkley once said. I am not a role model. Now, in the hats that you wear, do you see yourself as a role model? And if so, do you readily accept that position as a role model in our community?
I think it comes with the territory. I think that any role model is the reason why, I'm not a big fan person. For me, I've met dignitaries and, presidents and, different people from all over the world, but it doesn't, how I treat them is no different than I would treat, anybody else. If I met you on the street, I met you at church, or I met you at the grocery store, I don't treat that person any different. So, and that's the reason, because people always can build you up. We have a culture of that, building people up to then sniper them. That's right. That's kind of what we do. So that's like an American favorite to do. And so, but it's something that that I have to take a look at, and like making sure that, again, am I doing what I said I'm going to do? Now, am I going to be perfect about that? Absolutely not. And I talk to my mentor kids. I always talk to them about that as well. Say, look, this is not going to be perfect.
Right.
Like, you're not going to get this right every single time. But if you go with these basic principles of we're going to trying to do good and doing what you said you're going to do, and being responsible and accountable for what you're doing, and being disciplined about how you go about doing it, is the likelihood of it going wrong dramatically decreases. And even if it does go wrong, people are not going to look at you and say, "Look at that bad guy." Right. And I'm like, no, they're going to say, I always present myself as I'm no less broken than anybody else in this world. Right. And so I'm not going to hold myself to a standard that says that I'm a savior, some kind of hero. I'm just the guy that's willing to go when a lot of people aren't willing to go. And so, and take the risk that a lot of people aren't willing to take the risk, and try to help when a lot of people will give up, and they'll run into a roadblock and then sit down. And then that's not, you're not gonna sit down in the middle of the road. You're gonna run over. So you got to keep going and keep pushing forward. So that's really the idea of what you're trying to push forward to.
Dr. Bain, when you hear Andrew Bain, not just state attorney Bain, but when you hear Andrew Bain, when he talks this way, is that the person that you knew 17 years ago?
All day, all day.
Mhm.
And that's how we met, because he played football. So it was like I was submerged in that world with all these football players. And yeah, it was like they were all together, and you had to protect and you had to serve. It was a mission oriented, weekly thing that they had to do. And that's been Andrew since day one. I mean, he protects, even though all these things that are going on that we see and we hear, I go home at night and I'm safe. Like,
Nice.
I know that I'm
Nice.
good. So it hasn't been anything boring.
Yeah.
This life that has been chosen for us has been anything but boring. There's all these turns and quirks and things like that, but it's been, I feel like everything that's been, kind of handed to us, given to us, and that's our mission, and we have to do that. We've tried to enjoy as much as we can, but still accomplish, what the goal is at the end. So that's the main thing. Probably just enjoying it as well. So
I'm gonna tell you, when and Brother Rod Love and I, we were just having this conversation the other day. Whenever we see State Attorney Bain, he always just seems to be calm under pressure. He always seems to just kind of have that air and that ability to see through issues and see through problems and it not rattle him.
yeah.
Is that it? Tell me the kink in the armor. You gotta tell me the kink in the armor.
Because when you have me as a wife, you have to do that. Because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't have a wife anymore. So we've been practicing this for 17 years.
Oh wow! Did she tell? She told it today, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's I also I used to play in hundred thousands people stadium, 60,000.
Yeah.
Millions of people watching you on TV. You gotta be able to focus and do the job. And so that's kind of the same thing. So everything we do every day, there's people in the community that they're watching. There's people around the country, around the world that are watching, and you have to be able to operate and make sure that the job is still being done in all those conditions.
And I want to clear up a rumor, just to make sure that we get this out of the way now. When you played football, you weren't a kicker, were you? Somebody told you you were a kicker. Is that true?
I wish, man. I probably had a longer career, man. You
were a punter. They can't say you were a punter, man.
I wish, man. I tell people, you ask me all the time. If I was doing everything that Andrew Bain wanted to do. Andrew Bain would have played like 12 years in the NFL, would have retired, probably found something to do, kick around, probably doing the same kind of something, trying to help kids and things like that. But definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And so, but I do enjoy the assignment that I'm on and enjoy the work that's being done, because I'm really hands-on with everything I do. So when I'm doing my diversion programs or if I'm doing something with the kids, like I'm involved. I'm there. I go and see and check in and and talk to them and make sure that they're understand that I support them. So don't think this is just a thing. Yeah. Like I'm supporting what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm supporting you making this change. Like that, I believe that you can do that, and so I believe in you. So not just, this theoretical person or something like that. Andrew Bain believes that, we're providing you these tools, and with these tools you can change and be the person that we all know that you can be. And so, and that's just a decision that they have to then take on and make, and take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we have been working constantly and trying to get that done.
One of the questions that just kind of popped up, and Dr. Bain, I want you to help me out with this a little bit. You talked about when you all first met, you went to Jacksonville, he stayed in Miami, then he came to Jacksonville, you went to Orlando, and then kind of flip-flopped and different things like that. And then there was a time when you all came together, you lived in your parents' home and different things like that. Now that, without getting into too much detail, that can be a very trying time and a challenging time.
It was interesting.
During that time period, and I'm assuming that if my math is right, that you are probably 5 to 7 years into the marriage at that time?
Yeah. That was 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm pretty good with math. I'm all right with math. Looking back at that time and seeing where you are right now, is that something that you could have even imagined or envisioned?
Absolutely not. No way. If someone were to have told me that, I would blow them off, because no way. Mm-hmm. And I think at some point I think it was very early on in the marriage where I said, I'm not even putting any restrictions on what's happening, limitations or anything, just because everything just did not go as we planned. Mm-hmm. And then I said, this is silly. Why am I wasting my energy? I said, I'm just going to go with the flow. Whatever's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to embrace it. I may not like it, but we're going to do it. And some things were more difficult than others, but we've had like each other. I mean, that's like the main thing. And we had time before the kids were here. So we had a good 10 years without kids. Yeah. So we got to really develop our relationship and how we deal with adversity and change and things like that. So we already had like a great foundation with the marriage. So then when you add in these life changes and events and things like that, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So, so it's been, like I said, it's been exciting. It's been, I definitely could not have dreamt this, up. And I think even our family, our parents could not. No. I don't think they still understand like truly what we do. Uh-huh. But they're great though, because they're just such a great support. And again, it's like growing up where we tell our kids, hey, you can do anything. Yeah. I think when my mom told me that, she didn't realize what she was saying. Because it's like, I think sometimes she's even like, okay, like, I mean, I did say that, but were you really gonna do? Were you really gonna do that? So, it's been wonderful to have the support again as a parent of our parents, and supporting our kids. And like I said, they're watching everything. Yeah. And this is a nonstop deal.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Bain, you have been very upfront and honest about the fact that State Attorney Bain, that he's the cook. That he's the one that the kids look forward to having meals from. State Attorney Bain, what is it that your wife would take you to the woodshed on? If it's not cooking, what would it be?
To the woodshed on, let me think. Well, I can't bake. I mean, I as I said, I have like basically one dish that's like a version of there's two different ones. Uh-huh. I make a banana bread. Uh-huh. I make a banana bread muffin. And that's like it's good. It's good. That's about as good as my baking.
She said it'll work.
It works. Very simple recipe. Don't keep it, and it allows for error. Uh-huh. So it doesn't. You can't mess it up that bad. Uh-huh. So as definitely she's definitely the better baker and those type of things. She does a great job.
So it's a great team effort.
Yeah. So you go to our house, you get meal for me and then dessert for my wife.
Yes.
And there you go. Chocolate chip cookies are amazing.
So if all else fails, we will have a food truck.
Yes.
We got a food truck.
I have a skill. We will turn it into something.
We'll have some pies and cakes and cookies and
some pies, cakes, and cookies. I'm gonna be the first one in line. Trust me.
That's what we do though. I mean but that's been the mindset. I mean, it's been the mindset. For me since I was a kid. I mean, I've always been on the hustle. So, I got 10 toes, and I was all over Broward County when I was a kid. So, I mean, trying to make $1 here, $1 there, doing different things. So that's always been the mentality. So, it's just iterations of different things. So it's been a great opportunity, great ability for us as a family. Now we kind of do the same thing. Like we trying to build a family hustle. And whatever skill, that God gives you or gift that He gives you, you got to use it.
Yeah.
And so that's really the idea that we've been pushing.
Well, listen, we've been having a lot of fun here, and as we prepare to just kind of wrap up and everything like that. And again, I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to sit here and talk to you all, get a chance to know y'all a little bit better. I mean, we already speak, but to have a chance to just talk to y'all about just normal, everyday things, about family, about kids, about, the past and life experiences. This has been an amazing experience for me, and I hope that it's been an amazing experience for you and for everyone that's listening. And I just want to say, on behalf of my good friend, my compadre, my brother Rod Love, that we've watched you as a family unit, not just you, State Attorney Bain, but we've watched you all as a family. And it's amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing to see the supportiveness of you all as a family unit. Anytime there's a conversation to be had with State Attorney Bain, Dr. Bain is not far away to support what's taking place. And so as we prepare to wrap up, I want to give you all an opportunity to just talk about how important, being that family unit is, and how, that's going to continue to benefit this great community in Central Florida, Orange County, our only county that we have.
Yeah, I think it still goes the same thing. First Peter tells you, if you're going to serve, do it with your whole heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really kind of what our idea of I talked to her about doing this. So it was, first I prayed, got an answer. It was like, well, this is happening. And then after that, it was, talking to my wife, like, hey, this is kind of where we are. And, knowing that, she's going to, she's down for whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the things it's one of my motivational Monday thing I was doing this week is you want to choose to love the things that I love over the things I'm afraid of. So a lot of people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of being doubted. They're afraid of being hated sometimes. Yeah. They're afraid of afraid of results of not getting to what you wanted to be. But for me, the lesson that my dad taught me, if I choose instead to focus on the things that I love. So what are the things I love? I love my God. I love my family. I love my community. Those are three things that I really love. So if I focus my energy on that, then we're going to be successful. Right? We're going to be successful as a family. We're going to be successful as a community. And if I can do anything to better the lives of the people that I do life with, then that's what I want to choose, because that's the thing I love over, the rejections and the fears and the people doubting and all kind of things like that. That's really what you got to do, because if you spend your time focusing on all of that, then you're never going to get to the mission that God sent you to complete. So that's really where we kind of drive it home at that point.
Outstanding. Dr. Bain?
I think that just having the support of, first, yes, faith, yes, number one, but as a nucleus, as a family. And it's just something that, I think sometimes I don't even realize how much goes into that as well, just how much it takes to do that. And some people don't have that. So it is very special what we have, and the support of the community and things like that. And I just want, people to know that it doesn't fade. It doesn't decrease with time. This is who we are. And I got Andrew's back, since the beginning. And I know that Andrew will have the community's back just the way that he's had mine since the day we met. So it's been, this has been a time where just a lot of change, but again, we're embracing it.
Once again, I can't thank you all enough for allowing me to have this conversation with you all. I will say this just on a personal note. I believe that Orange County, Osceola County is absolutely privileged to have a person who works as hard, as diligently as State Attorney Bain does for our community, and to have a family unit, specifically a wife and Dr. Bain, in-laws, his parents, his children, and his friends and his church family that are there to support him as well. And so with that stated, my name is Greg Jackson. They call me the General. I am also a part of Let's Talk Nation with my good friend, Brother Rod Love. And if it's all right with you and it's all right with me, we'll be signing off.
All right. See you all next week.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Community Conversations with State Attorney Bain. Join us again next Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. for another episode. You've been listening to Community Conversations with State Attorney Bain. Join us again next Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. for another